Welcome to All Things Mental,
a podcast that honors the messy, beautiful, nonlinear journey of healing. Because healing isn't about fixing what's broken.
It's about discovering what you need in this moment and learning to trust yourself along the way.
Here, we share stories, resources, and reminders that you're never alone on your path.
So take a breath, lean in, and remember,
you are not broken.
You're just becoming a more beautiful version of your higher self. We're your co-hosts, Michele
and Liana,
here to remind you that
you're never alone
on your healing journey.
Welcome back to All Things Mental. This episode is called All Things Period with our period coach, Vicky. And she's our very special guest, and we're super excited to have her on. And I couldn't be more excited about this topic because as a female, I love learning about the female cycle and everything, and just getting into learning about my body and being really in tune with myself. Like, we've had our episode All Things Body, and we've talked about listening to our bodies all the time, but this is like a whole new level. So Michele, anything to add?
If you want to work with Vicky, she's amazing. I've worked with her before. I've done just like with Chelsea, like basically every program. And I met her through someone I met through Chelsea. So she's absolutely fantastic. So Vicky, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes. Well, thank you both for having me. I'm so excited. I'm Vicki Chehade. I go by Your Period Coach on social media, and I'm a certified nutrition coach and fertility awareness educator. So my biggest goal is just helping women understand their bodies, understand their menstrual cycle, so that they can either minimize their period symptoms and live their life, or so they can get pregnant naturally.
Awesome.
Amazing.
I love that so much. Okay. So our first question is, what in your life led you towards this career path?
Great question. And probably like all things, it's been a circuitous path that has led me here. So I used to be a teacher. That was my first career out of college. And while I was teaching, I always loved health and fitness and exercise. I was an athlete growing up. So I got really into CrossFit. I became a CrossFit coach, and right around that same time, I became a nutrition coach. And so I was working with a lot of women. And at that time, it was mostly just weight loss coaching, this and that. But I would always have conversations with them about, their period. Or they would say to me Vicky, I feel like I completely fall off the rails when I'm PMSing, or when I have my period, or I have so much period pain, I can't exercise. And so I was like, okay, there's something going on here. We have to dig deeper in this. Around that same time, I came off birth control after having been on it for 11 years of my life, and just had no idea about what my body was supposed to do. I didn't get my period back right away. It was so confusing. I felt like doctors were no help. They were just like, okay, we'll go back on birth control. I didn't want to do that. And so that was really my inspiration. And I found a certification program to teach me about women's hormones, the menstrual cycle, how we could use nutrition, how we could use lifestyle habits to really improve that. And it's kind of just been, snowballing from there. I've taken a lot more certifications, a lot more courses to really just refine my craft. And it's amazing because I cannot tell you how many women say to me, why was I never taught this about my body? And that is really my biggest motivation, especially with an education background. I want to teach women. I want to teach no matter what their age is. If you're not learning this till 35, I don't care. You're never too old to learn what is going on with your own body and your menstrual cycle.
Oh, absolutely. Because I remember when I first started working with you, I said that to you. I was like, wait, how did I not know this? And I think one of the first things that I learned from you was that when you wake up in the morning, you need to eat within the first hour. And I remember that I was not doing that. I was drinking coffee, because I was really early on in my healing journey when I first started working with you. And through it, through working with you, I healed myself in a way I didn't realize that I could heal myself. And that was the main reason why I said to Liana, we have to have her on the podcast.
Because it's just there's so much information out there, but a lot of the information is coming from maybe nutrition advice for men that doesn't apply to women, or yeah, and it's again, it's just so much. We're not taught this. And unfortunately, like our parents' generation knew even less. So who were we going to learn this from? So I'm really happy now that this information is coming out and there's resources for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that so much. I think it's been so essential to heal our relationship with our bodies and just being a woman, learning about everything that we possibly can. Like my journey, I was the last one in my friend group to get my period. I think I was 15. So I was older a little bit. And it was in the summertime. So it was like we were at a family dinner and it was pretty traumatic because I think I was wearing white shorts and I was like, what is happening to me? And then I come home and tell my mom, and then she's like, okay, no problem. And we were going to have family over in the pool and everything. And so I was like, what do I do?
Right.
And so she immediately showed me how to use a tampon. And I'm like, okay, I get no turning back. Like, this is what I have to do. And so that was my journey.
How we joke sometimes that we're like the same person. I have a similar story.
Okay, share.
So like this was I was 16. I was with my now husband, but back then, and I got my period. And I remember him not caring. I was just like sitting off the side of the pool, and he was swimming, and we were like, being like all cutesy, like teenagers, like in love or whatever. And then my aunt and my mom and my cousin called me inside, and they were like, you have to go in the pool with your boyfriend. And I was like, okay, but he's fine with me just chilling by the side. And they gave me a tampon, and they like pushed me into the bathroom and told me to put this like in. And I was like, I don't know how to do this. And I didn't even put it in correctly because I remember then getting in the pool and him like coming up to me going, hey, I can kind of see it. And like I was so embarrassed, but like you both know who he is and have talked with him. Like he's such a chill guy. But he's like, it's not that big of a deal. Why don't you go take it out? Because it looks like you're in pain. So I did, and I just chilled by the side of the pool like we had originally planned and discussed.
Wow. But isn't that crazy that like that has to be so like traumatic? It could have just been a very calm conversation of like, this is what a tampon is. This is how you put it in. But instead,
yeah. Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, I had this thought like that I would I kind of started using tampons almost exclusively until like a few years ago in present day that I started to use like the period underwear, and I've never looked back since because I'm just like, this is so great because like I've been blessed with a lighter period flow and everything. Like I'm on my period right now as we talk. So it's like I got it yesterday and I was like, okay, like this is pretty timely. And it was a new moon, and I've alternated between like new moon, full moon period cycles or whatever, but it just depends. And so I was like, okay, this works.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, but then for me, it was the opposite. Like I was like, I'm not using a tampon like ever. Like I only used pads, and then I started using tampons like later on in life. And now I use period underwear, but I also use a tampon that is like clean, like it's 100% cotton. And the really nice part about the company that I purchased from is every one that you purchase, it like provides tampons to a girl in a third world country who wouldn't be able to like afford to get that particular like thing. You need that.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's awesome.
That's really special. Yeah, I love the organic cotton tampons as well. Those have been really essential for me. But like I said, I've now stopped any forms of birth control in my body. I was on them for like 8 years, and or no, it was even longer. It was 9 years. And in the middle of my relationship with my now husband, and then the last year, it'll be almost a full year or two, I think, that I have not had any forms of birth control like in my body, and it feels so much better, like that I'm in tune with my natural cycle, and then I'm just absolutely fully aware of everything that's going on. I track my cycle with my Oura ring. Like I'm very obsessed with learning the cycle ups and downs through
Yeah.
the temperature flows and everything. And it's just been really amazing to be like so in tune with my body and like aware and just, you know, honoring it as it changes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because like for me, I when I was on it for like on and off for like years, I did like birth control, and then I knew I was going to be becoming sexually active. So it was like, I do not want to get pregnant until I am ready to get pregnant. So I did I think I did IUD, and I got it out shortly before I started working with Vicky to learn how to track my period. And I took it out on a Friday, and I got my period that Monday, and I bled for like 7 days. And I was like, oh, great, this is what it's going to be. And then through working with Vicky, I like learned, no, this is just your body, like essentially catching up to the fact that it didn't bleed for like 3 years. And so then, like now my periods, like I have like 2 light days and 1 medium day, which is normal, but I didn't know that it was normal. So I guess that kind of leads us into our next question. Go for it, Liana.
Sure. So what is the female cycle? What are each of the phases? And then sub questions to that are, how can you tell that you're in that phase, and what actually is a normal cycle? So I guess if you want to just kind of dive right into the cycle.
All of it. Yeah. Okay. So the different phases. There's a couple different ways of approaching it. You can look at it as 2 phases, and that would be pre-ovulation, post-ovulation. That's one way. More commonly, what you'll see on social media, and the way I like to talk about it as well, is 4 phases of the cycle. So it starts with your menstruation phase, which is when you have your period. So I'll talk about normal period at this time. You want to be bleeding for 3 to 7 days, with at least 1 day being medium or heavy. And how I teach my clients what is a medium day is you're using 3 to 5 regular pads or tampons. So like you're filling 3 to 5 pads or tampons. If you're using supers, I know a lot of women just like automatically use supers because they, want the extra protection. I think about that as like 2 regulars, right?
Yes.
So if you're using 2 supers, you'd have 4 regular, tampons or pads. So 1 medium or heavy day, that's it. But you have to bleed for like 3 days. So like, if you have like 1 medium day and then 2 light days, that's normal. If you have 3 medium days, that's normal. If you have 2 medium days, a heavy day, and a light day, that's normal, right? So anything within that 3 to 7 days. Spotting, let's talk about that. If spotting happens before your full flow starts, you don't count that as the first day of your period. And so many women don't know this, and they get so confused by it. So the way I teach it is your period does not officially start until you're at least filling 1 pad or tampon. So like full flow. If it's a panty liner, count that as spotting. As far as like cramps and symptoms, a little bit of cramping on cycle days 1 to 2 is normal, but anything where you're needing to take pain medication, like that goes into the realm of not so normal. And, there's things that we can do as far as nutrition, lifestyle habits, some supplements to minimize that period pain. So that's your menstruation phase while you're bleeding. Then the next phase is the follicular phase. Basically, your body is getting ready for fertility. It's developing an egg is growing, your hormone estrogen is being produced. Most women start to feel pretty good at that time in the cycle. Then we move into our ovulation phase, which that is the only time in the cycle where you can get pregnant. So an egg is released, the egg lives for 12 to 24 hours. If there's sperm around there at that time, you can get pregnant. If there is no sperm there, you can't get pregnant. And leading up to ovulation, your body, if you're looking for it, if you know what to look for, will have a change in cervical mucus. So you might notice when you wipe with toilet paper, it's more slippery. If you look at the toilet paper, it might be clear, it might be stretchy. That's how you know your body's really ramping up to ovulate. And then after we ovulate, we go into our luteal phase, which is anywhere from, I personally like to see it 11 to 16 days, but 9 to 18 days can be considered normal. And that's where if you are using an Oura ring or if you are using temperature tracking, you'll see your temperatures start to increase. And that's kind of how you can know and count, like, okay, I'm in my luteal phase. How long is it? And this is also the phase of the cycle where typical PMS symptoms can start to show up. And as far as what's normal versus what's not, a lot of women think PMS is normal because it's common and because maybe you've been dealing with it for years and years and years. But it's really not normal. It shouldn't be debilitating. What is normal is if you feel a little bit more tired, if you feel a little bit more hungry, if you're maybe a little bit more irritated, that's normal. Your husband chewing, pisses you off. Like, okay, that's normal. But if it's to the point where you're like raging, or you feel like you can't control your emotions, or you're getting really bad migraines, or you're super exhausted, those tend to be some red flags as far as too much PMS goes. And then, that's it. Those are the 4 phases. And then you would get your next period and everything would start all over again.
Very good. I love that. That's so brilliantly explained. And it sounds so simple, but I know it's so complex, and just the way that everybody is different. And everyone's journey throughout time is different. Like, I also didn't know for a time that when you are taking a certain birth control pill, that it's not an actual period. It's just like the withdrawal symptoms of the hormones.
Mm-hmm.
And it's you still have to use the products and everything to like protect yourself against it, I guess. But like in that way, it's just like, that's not a real period. And then like I also had the IUD as well, Michele, and I did that for 3 years. And the pain with that was so immense, because I got the copper IUD because I was like, okay, I don't want hormones anymore, but I still want the birth control effects and everything. And then it was just not the right size for me. And she warned me about that. But like, my doctor, but like, I still was like, you know what, I'm going to do this anyway. And like the 10-day periods, the really bad cramping and just everything, I was like, I can't do this anymore.
No.
So I got that removed. And I was like, I'm over it.
And that's very common with copper IUDs, unfortunately, because the way the copper IUD works is copper is so inflammatory that it's creating basically, like, I kind of think about it as like an electric fence for sperm in a way, right? Like that is like the sperm can't get through because the copper is basically creating this environment where they can't survive in it. But there's no hormones. But because the copper is pretty inflammatory, most women on them bleed heavier, have more painful periods. I've had clients on copper IUDs where they were bleeding like half the month. And I'm like, oh, this is not worth it. Like, why are we doing this?
It's not. It was not worth it in the end. And it was one of those things where like, I had this internal story where I was like, and I don't know where it came from. I don't know if it was the media in my lifetime or just like a general sense of women and whatever, of like, oh, when you're with your one and only partner, like for the rest of the time, like you should not use condoms. Like you should be like in the natural way of life and everything. And I was like, okay, I guess this will be what I do. Only to realize that it was putting my body at risk and harm and damage. And I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. Like and it never bothered my husband and myself to use condoms. So I'm like, what's the point of putting myself through that?
Oh my gosh. Thank you for saying that, because I come across so many women who are like, yeah, we're not a condom couple. We don't like to use condoms. And I'm like, why? Like, what's wrong with that? Obviously they're not as effective. There can be some, pregnancies that could happen, but like for the most part, especially if you have some understanding of where you're at in your cycle and just knowing like if you are in your fertile window and you're using condoms, obviously the risk is a little bit higher, right? But like, I don't know, in my opinion, I don't think there's anything wrong with condoms.
Right.
So, I don't think there's anything wrong with condoms either, but I remember when I was on birth control, first of all, when they put it in, it was so painful. I remember my aunt went with me and I was like holding her hand like the whole entire time. And then I got it out and I got like the whole speech of you can't have sex for a couple of days, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, yeah, okay. Which I was going to like, honor and all that. But like, I I don't like the feel of a condom because I know what it feels like to not have a condom. But at the same time, like now I've been off of birth control for like 3 years now, maybe 2. I don't know. Like I'm on like cycle 27 on the app that I use. And like we use them because we're not ready to get pregnant. And even though like I have learned that like 2 dry days in a row, you can technically have sex without a condom. My husband is like, no, we're not risking it. And that's fine and fair. Like I respect his like decision. But like I lost my train of thought. But basically what I was trying to say is that it doesn't matter. It's what you and your partner want to do. Like it's up to you and like what you're both comfortable and not comfortable with.
And I think that's a really important point, is that like I don't know if you guys feel this way, but like being a teenager, like in health class, I felt like the pregnancy risks was completely on me, right? Like as the woman, it's like you are in charge of this, you have to go on birth control, blah 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 blah. But it really should be a conversation between both partners. And like, even, you know, not being on, I haven't been on birth control now for, I don't know, since 2018. So what, 7 years, 8, yeah, whatever, 7 years. 8, I can't do math, but anyway, like,
yes, 8 years. That's insane. But
yeah, that is. But it's like, I've involved my husband, we were dating at the time when I came off birth control, in every single conversation about it. Like, this is where I'm at in my cycle. Or before I even knew this stuff, I was like, okay, I don't know anything, so we're going to use condoms all the time. And it's like, it has to be that back and forth conversation. It really shouldn't just be on the woman.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because like I was talking with some of my friends at work the other day, and we were discussing how like me and my husband might be ready to try like in like a couple of months or whatever, because like right now we're trying to just get our finances in order and blah 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 blah. And they were like, okay, well, are you gonna go get like your egg count checked and all of that because of your age and blah 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 blah. And I was like, yeah, I mean I can, but at the same time, like I'm thinking back in my head what I've learned from my period coach, it's not that big of a deal. But also at the same time, like if I'm gonna get checked and I'm fine, like the thing that I can't stand is that like they always check the woman first, and they don't then assume that it could be like the man's sperm count.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And that's part of my personal journey of, we had a more difficult time trying to conceive my daughter. I went for testing. It was a whole thing. The doctors were rude to me. So I was like, I said to my husband, I was like, go get a semen analysis. They did it, no questions asked. And there were some issues with him. And it's like, both partners should be checked.
Yeah, no, like, I agree. Because like you were mentioning, you just reminded me what I wanted to say. Because like back in high school, like where it's put on just the girl. But like you also don't realize how hard it can be to get pregnant. Like I have had friends who have tried naturally and it didn't work, and they had to go a different route to get pregnant. And now they are pregnant with their second child and they're really excited about it. But like they discuss how easy it is in high school, and they scare kids into not having sex. I think it's in I think it's in Mean Girls where they like talk about condoms, use them. And then they like start handing them out in health class.
Yeah. The line from Mean Girls, because I say this all the time, the phys ed teachers, like, you'll get pregnant and you'll die. And it's like, yes, what? Like, come on.
Right. Right. Oh my gosh. I remember, I really liked health class. Like that was one of my favorite classes in school. And I was close with my health teacher, and she found me on LinkedIn like years after high school. Like I was already in post-college, like working and everything. And she found me and she's like, I found one of your letters that you wrote to yourself to write to your adult self. Can I send it to you? I was like, yes, please. It was cute in the moment, but we'll get to where this is actually, I don't know if I probably still have it, but I don't know. But I wrote to myself, I was like, I will be abstinent and I will do this. And I was like, oh my God, poor me.
Yes.
Like poor little me, like being so traumatized by like the learnings of what we had to deal with, to then realize that that's just the way I felt. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, aw.
Yeah, that makes me sad.
Yeah.
but it is, that's what they taught. And again, don't quote me on this, but like, I think in some states, like they still do push like abstinence as the way to go.
I'm pretty sure they do because it's like, for instance, like for me, like I practiced it, but I didn't practice it because of my religion. I practiced it because of the Jonas Brothers. But like, let's be real here. I think the only one who married and was a virgin was Kevin.
And maybe, like, who knows?
So like,
That's really funny.
Yeah, like for me, that's what it was. And yeah, like I lost my virginity later on in life, but like, I mean, like it happened the way it was like meant to happen. Because like everything, in my opinion, everything happens for a reason within reason. There's some things that I'm like, and I say it like that because there are some things that I'm like, why would that occur? Like, why is this happening?
Yeah.
So,
No,
yeah. So we have an additional question. Why is it a good idea to track your cycle with or without trying to get pregnant? Because there's some women who are not interested in having a child, and there's some women who are. Why is it a good idea to track it whether you want to or not?
Sure. Yeah. So learning a fertility awareness method is technically a method of birth control. So like I was literally at the OBGYN office yesterday, and they have the like sign on the back of the door of like all the different birth control methods. And they do list fertility awareness as an option. So if you're not on birth control, this is what I always say. If you are not on any birth control, pill, patch, IUD, whatever, you need a plan. You can't just wing it, right? Especially if you don't want to get pregnant. So it is really important for women to know where they're at. From a straight up, I don't want to get pregnant standpoint, you need to know when you're in your fertile window and when you're not in your fertile window. When you want to get pregnant, obviously, you also need to know that, because the only time you can get pregnant is during that fertile window. But let's say you don't really fit into either of those categories. Maybe you don't have a partner, you're not sexually active right now, and you're just like not on birth control. It's really important for just understanding how to live your life as a woman. Like, I will die on this hill because we are not meant to feel the same way throughout the month. Men do. I always compare this. Like, men don't have a cycle over the course of the month. Like, they feel the same day in and day out, but women don't. And I was saying this a little bit when I was going over the phases of like, oh, you might feel more energy in the follicular phase. You might feel more tired in the luteal phase. And that's true. Our hormones are doing different things at different points of the cycle, and those hormones are going to make us feel different ways. So the biggest thing I see is if women aren't tracking their cycle, or they're not really aware of their cycle phases, they just keep living their life the same way. They're maybe pushing really hard. They're doing a million things. They're trying to check every single thing off their to-do list. When you're in your luteal phase, that's a recipe for feeling like crap, because your body needs to slow down at that time. So typically women who do have worse PMS symptoms, it's because they're not intentionally slowing themselves down, getting more sleep, taking more time to recover in between workouts, things like that. So it's just really important to know like what your body might be feeling, how it might be feeling, how you might need to nourish yourself at that time, how you might need to, use self-care at certain times in the cycle. So I think it's really important.
I agree. Yeah, I love learning the different phases that I'm in based on like the Oura Ring tracking and everything, and just how like it gives that little advice and everything. But something that it's not quite there yet is like, oh, like your heart rate is a little bit higher this part of your, sometimes it'll say like, oh, maybe sometimes in the cycle, like it might be related, but like it's not quite there yet, because it still kind of gives like a lower readiness or sleep score or something because of the heart rate.
Yeah.
Because your heart rate is higher in the luteal phase, I believe, right? And then it could be lower in the follicular phase. I also notice my stress in my body is lower in the follicular phase versus the luteal phase, and that is really interesting. But then I'm also like, okay, like I see all the red stress, like I'm gonna honor myself, I'm gonna take my time, I'm gonna be okay, and it's just a process of learning and accepting that that's just how we are, and then eventually it cycles again, and then you do it all over again.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's like, I think sometimes women, because there's a lot out there about like cycle syncing and like you should completely switch up your workouts depending on where you're at. Like, I don't agree with that. I'm a bigger fan of just like listen to your body. So, you know, you could still work out in your luteal phase, but maybe you're just working out for a shorter amount of time. Or maybe if you're lifting weights, you're, you know, not lifting as heavy as you could in other parts of your cycle. So yeah, it just comes down to knowing where you're at, giving yourself grace, and just really being able to like tune in and listen to what your body needs.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember before I even started working with you, I was like looking into like, okay, what kind of, because I was, you know, very into working out. Okay, what should you do in menstrual? What should you do in like ovulation? Because at the time I only knew about those two. And like, I was like, but I have more energy around this time. And then when I started working with you and you were like, Michele, just listen to your body. I'm like, okay, cool. Because like to me, like listening to your body goes beyond just physical. Like we talked about this on the All Things Body episode. It's physical, it's mental, it's emotional. Sometimes it's even spiritual. Like just do what you feel your body needs. Because if you don't, your body will do it for you eventually, or you will get injured or this or that.
1,000%. That's such a, that was kind of what I was trying to say with like the women who have worse PMS, but you just said it perfectly, Michele. Like your body will show you really loud symptoms of migraines and mood swings and cravings and all of that if you're not honoring your body. So
Wow.
love
That's
that.
amazing. Yeah, I live by that. Try to live in my divine feminine. Like I even dressed up today for this episode because I was like, we're talking about all things of women.
Love
Like,
it.
let's be real. So it's super exciting and amazing. And I wanted to ask another question in terms of what does healthy nutrition actually look like and how it's related to the cycle?
Yeah. So that's a loaded question. I'll try to answer as much as I can. It's different for everyone. And that's just what that's my blanket answer is even though our hormones are doing, you know, every woman's hormones in theory are doing the same things, right? Like when they're at a different point in their cycle, but every woman's individual needs are not the same. So as far as general healthy nutrition that supports the cycle, one thing I'm always saying, and Michele brought it up earlier, but eating breakfast within an hour of waking up is like non-negotiable with my clients. And the reason for that is because that is going to help you balance blood sugar. And for women, that is a huge thing that impacts whether or not you ovulate, impacts how intense your PMS symptoms are going to be, impacts how rough your period symptoms are going to be. So starting your day with like a balanced breakfast, protein, fat, carbs, is really supportive. So something I'm always saying that's very easy is like maybe 2 scrambled eggs, maybe some cottage cheese on the side for a little extra protein, maybe some berries for like fiber and a nice carb. That's a super easy supportive breakfast. So that's just one example. And then eating enough. If I had to pick 2 things, it would be the breakfast and then just trying to eat enough and not constantly diet or cut carbs or go low fat, because those things just don't really work out for hormone production. Women need fat in order to produce hormones. We need enough carbs to signal to our body that our body has fuel and energy to make hormones. Because something I'm always explaining to women is it's not essential for our bodies to survive. They don't need to reproduce, right? That's not an essential function. If you like, the way I explain it is like, if we think back to like caveman days, if there was a famine, not a lot of babies were being made because your body wouldn't have the resources for that. So same thing applies now when our bodies are undernourished or we're in a really extreme calorie deficit, we're dieting, your brain senses, hey, we don't feel safe right now. We don't have enough of what we need to have a proper menstrual cycle. So eating enough is huge. And like I said, that's different for every single woman and that's very nuanced, but try to eat.
Wow. No, I thank you so much. I love that description because it makes me think about this Ozempic craze and how people are just like taking these injections to lose weight and then not caring about the repercussions on their body. And it's just so sad. You know, we talked about in our episode, All Things Body, like eating intuitively. And that's something that I try to practice and just learn to love about myself and my body changes and it's okay. And it's fine. Like it is what it is. I'm also taking medication that is not conducive to a pregnancy type of thing. Like they say, oh, don't get pregnant on this medicine. And I'm like, right. That's not the plan anyway, at least for me for right now. But yeah, it's just so sad that like so many people like would choose to be quote unquote skinny instead of like actually living in their healthiest form of themselves.
Absolutely. Because I remember when I like first healed my relationship with food and I ate intuitively, I gained a whole lot of weight, and I'm like not the heaviest, but like I'm bigger now than I was back when I was like doing the diets and losing the weight. But I'm happier. Like I'm physically, mentally, and emotionally happier. And am I still trying to release weight? Absolutely. But like, I'm not doing it to the extent of like before I worked with Vicky, I did keto for a couple of months because I still wanted to lose those 5 pounds. And my husband was like, well, you could do keto. And I'm like, what's that? And he explained it to me. I'm like, okay, I'll try it. And I did lose those 5 pounds. But then when I began working with Vicky, she's like, no, you need carbs. Women need carbs. Like there are so many diets out there that men are like, oh yeah, women, you can do this and you can lose weight. Okay. But like, it's not supporting us hormonally.
Exactly. And that's like, I always say like seasons of life, right? If you are on a weight loss journey and that's your goal, cool. But just know that you're probably going to start having some issues with your period. Versus if you are trying to have a healthy menstrual cycle, or especially for women who are trying to get pregnant, like you need to be eating enough in order for those goals to happen.
And then, so I know you said for each woman, it's like obviously like depends, but like, is there like a minimum of protein that they should be eating, or does that also depend on the woman? Because I feel like you might have mentioned that when we worked together, but I'm not 100% sure.
Again, it depends on the woman because it depends on like exercise a little bit. Like if someone's exercising a lot or strength training a lot, they need a little bit more protein. But I just think as like a golden rule, women probably could afford to eat more protein in the day. So
maybe like a minimum of like,
a minimum,
a certain amount,
like 100 grams a day as like a minimum for women to shoot for. So at your main meals, you're trying to hit like 30 grams of protein at each meal. That's pretty balanced. And then, you have a little wiggle room with your snacks as well.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. I definitely find myself like in this current news cycle that I'm in, right? Because I said I started my period yesterday, and the luteal phase leading up to this was pretty rough. I was like not feeling very good. And I think it was based on my nutrition. So I'm gonna do what I can to, I love that tip, eating within the first hour of the day, because I definitely do not do that. I eat by the time I get to work or something. And then that's like my first meal of the day. Cause I just like, I'm like getting ready, I'm doing my thing. And then I finally get there and I'm like, okay, I need to eat something. And by then it's like, am I even really being conscious of my food? Like, it's just, I understand like the protein aspect. Like that's been a big thing for me, like trying to get the yogurt. Like, it's almost like I get this Greek yogurt that I absolutely love with this amazing chocolate granola that has like probiotics and like chocolate bits in it. It's like so good. I love the sweet in the morning, but having like a full fat yogurt, like I don't even find that I find that very often. Like I still have a 5% fat milk in the Greek yogurt that I have. And I'm like, is this even enough calories to have a meal out of it? So it's like, it's so confusing and hard. And it's just, we do our best, but it's like, I wish that there wasn't so many things of like low fat this and
no, absolutely, because Mary talked about this in a video on TikTok, I think, and was like, if there is one hill I will die on, it is stop eating low fat yogurt.
100%.
You need the full fat.
All dairy.
So when she said that, I was like, okay, I'm going to start buying, and I can't find it. I can find 5%. I can find low, but I cannot find full fat.
There's a couple brands, but that goes for all dairy. Like, get the whole milk, get the regular cheese.
I love whole milk. It's the
all
best.
of it, because like I said, fats are very important for women's hormones. And when you're drinking the whole version, like the whole milk version, you're getting all the nutrients versus skim milk. They're just watering it down. You're basically drinking like a little bit of milk and mostly
like
water.
It tastes like water because
Yeah,
I grew up on skim milk.
Yeah.
And then when I moved in with my aunt, I preferred fat milk, like whole fat. So we agreed on 2%.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, but like something else that I think you mentioned to me when I was working with you, Vicky, if you ever wake up and you're not hungry, because I said to you, well, what if I wake up and I'm not hungry? You're like, just have like a little snack to like let your nervous system know, hey, I'm awake. I'm alive.
A lot of
that's
it
what I did this morning because I was like, I'm not hungry. I don't want to eat this.
Yeah.
So I just had something tiny because like I was like, she's gonna know. No, she's not, but she's gonna know.
That's exactly what I recommend to my clients, because a lot of it is training your body. And a good sign of like a healthy metabolism is like waking up hungry, and that can be trained. So yeah, starting off with like a little small snack, handful of nuts and a piece of fruit, like that's a great little quick thing, especially if you have like a hectic morning and need to get out the door. And then when you get to work or wherever, then you could have your bigger meal.
Yeah. And like I haven't worked with you in like over like a year and a half, and I still implement everything that you have taught me.
Love to hear it.
Because like it's important. And the best part about working with Vicky is that like when you do a program with her, you get videos and you get them for life, because there'll be times where like I'll message her and she'll like, Michele, watch this video again. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Because like you're right. Like before, when I went to the doctor, I would not realize that they were like, oh, just go back on birth control. And then I remember one time I was having an issue and I wasn't even working with Vicky, and I messaged her and was like, hey, I'm freaking out. This is what's going on. And well, she said, ask this question, this question, this question, and this question. And it really, really helped because I was able to advocate for myself. And like, it's just nice knowing the information. That way you can also advocate for yourself at the doctor's office.
1000%. Yeah. Because it's so easy. Like, again, when women don't know these things, the options are very narrow because they don't know what they can ask for. So it's very important for just advocating for yourself.
That's amazing.
Advocating for yourself and listening in your body. I like it.
Exactly.
Yes, 100%. So for those of us who are not as familiar with your programs, Vicky, are you able to kind of share with how people can work with you and what they can benefit from?
Sure. Yeah. I have a couple different programs. Right now I'm focusing a lot on fertility and trying to conceive clients. So any women who, maybe they come off birth control and they know they want to get pregnant soon, I have a program for that. Or someone who's struggling to get pregnant but doesn't really want to go the IVF route just yet, I have a program for that called the Cycle Sports Society. I also work with women who are, again, just kind of dealing with like rough period problems. If you have bad period pain, if you have bad PMS and you've been told by your doctor, just go on birth control, just do this, just do that, and that doesn't sit right with you, find me, because there are things that we can do from, like I said, a nutrition standpoint, lifestyle standpoint, to really move the needle. And I love what Michele said. And that's really my biggest goal when any client works with me is I want you to be able to take what I'm teaching you, what I'm coaching you in, and do it for life, right? Like these are not fad diets. These are foundations, sustainable foundations that will literally serve you for, as long as you need to be doing them. So,
oh yeah, absolutely. Because I think the first program I did with you was the nutrition one. And then that's when I learned like all of this. And then I was still on birth control, but I was wanting to get off of it. And while I was working with you, you're like, well, you let me know when you're ready. And then I think you did like a bye-bye birth control program, but you wanted your clients to be off of it. And I was like, okay. And I had a conversation with my husband. It wasn't my husband at the time, and he was like, I mean, babe, it's your body. Like you can do what you want to do and I will support you. So I was like, okay. So I came off of it and then I started the program with you and I learned all the things. And then I think I did one other program with you. And probably again, I'll work with you someday when we're trying to get pregnant. Vicky's going to be part of this process. Just so you know.
I love it. I find it funny. A lot of women, like I'm like the first person they tell they're pregnant, sometimes even before their partners. And it's just like such a big joy for me to be able to like be with women, throughout.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like I told him like after like I tell you and we like like the only other person that's probably going to know is going to be Vicky. And then I won't announce it to the world until like we're through the first, because that's like my biggest fear is like telling the world. And then like I go through like,
it happens. Everyone's preferences are different as far as, that comfort level goes, but yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. I truly believe that living in our divine feminine, tracking our cycles, listening to our bodies has healed us in ways that, oh my God, it's like making me emotional even saying this. Like just being like so in tune is like such an act of resistance. And I've said that before about other things, about like just going against what other people think and
listening to your body.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Like it puts you in the most control of your body. And that is so important.
Oh, well, thank you so much. Where can people find you to connect with you and learn more about your programs and all you have to offer?
Yeah. So on Instagram and TikTok, my handle is @your.period.coach. So periods in between. And yeah, that's the best place to like find me, continue to learn from me, chat with me. And
she's on her stories like every single day. And she's posting reels like every single day. And I've worked with her before, as I mentioned, but like I still watch all of them. Like, am I going to learn something new? It's great. She's fantastic.
Yeah. But no, thank you guys for having me. This was so fun.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it. And we'll talk again soon.
Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to this episode of All Things Mental.
Please follow us on social media @All Things Mental Podcast to let us know how this episode helped you on your healing journey.
Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts so that you don't miss an episode.
And remember,
you are not broken.
you're just becoming a more beautiful version
of your higher self.